name is Catherine Pavone. I am your host of ZFILES podcast, where we bring your curiosity to our conversations. Today we have a special guest, Matt Long. Would you like to just introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I think it's really cool what you're doing here. And I saw most of your episode with Representative Probst. So it's great. I commend you. I moved to the Poconos in 5th grade. I lived near East Stroudsburg South High School, and I went to Notre Dame East Stroudsburg High School, and I graduated there. I went off to college and studied political science. I also played college golf, and that's my profession these days. I'm a golf professional. And I moved back to the Poconos after working as a golf professional in a few different states, and I'm very happy to be back. I was excited to find a job back in the Poconos, and I live here now with my fiance on Cherry Lane up in Pocono Township, and her sister's right down the road, and the rest of her family's close, so we have a lot of fun. There's some young kids, and it's fun to be around them and watch them grow up.
Thank you. So as a professional golfer, if you could play a round of golf with any politician, past or present, who would it be and why?
I should think about this so I don't get into trouble. I saw that Tiger Woods played with President Trump the other day before the Super Bowl with Charlie, and I really wish that I was the fourth in that group. That would have been pretty cool to play with Tiger and him, but I'd love to play with President Obama too. I worked.
Is he any good at golf?
He's not as good as President Trump.
So is that why you want to play with him?
I could probably help him. I actually know somebody who gave him a lesson.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I worked closer to D.C.
Probably wouldn't want to get that lesson if he's no good.
But that would be fun. I mean, I think President Obama's very smart, and I'd love to ask him some questions.
Yeah.
So either of those two.
Yeah. Right. Political science and philosophy degree at Washington and Jefferson College, and then continued professional golfing, as you mentioned. So, and then also a side quest being a basketball coach. I gotta ask, why did you run for state rep?
Yeah, so I was about to start working in Maryland when COVID happened, and so that job got delayed, and that's how the basketball coach thing came about, because I was stuck here waiting to work, and I got to coach at Notre Dame, which was very fun. But your question about state rep, I honestly, I was helping Dave Parker run for Monroe County Commissioner a little bit. I was, put a few signs out and gave him some money and was trying to get people to vote for him. Yeah. And after that county commissioner race, I really wanted to get involved further, and I asked Dave, who I've known for a long time. My mom was his treasurer when he ran for state representative. I asked him how he thought I could get involved, and neither of us knew of anyone running for state representative against Representative Madden at the time. And he said I should reach out to Krista Palucci, who ran last time, and the rest is really history. I talked to Krista, and she really encouraged me to run after talking to me, and I met with some local leaders and officials, and everyone was really encouraging. So it just kind of happened. I wasn't seeking it out. I was really looking for somebody else to run. I wanted to run their campaign.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it ended up being me. So
got on the front line.
Yeah, it was a great experience.
So for the district, it was 115th.
Yep.
Did you exceed your expectations with the campaign? I remember briefly meeting you 2 times, one at my friend's house, and you were canvassing. I thought it was fantastic. And also at the Veterans Day Parade in Stroudsburg, you were waving. What did you also learn from that experience?
Yeah, so we did exceed expectations to a degree. Yeah. If you look at the 115th, when I got into the race, it was a Democratic voter registration advantage of over 16 points. So when I got into the race, the party expected me to lose by 16 points.
Yeah.
And election day, it was down to just over 13. So it trended a few points to the right.
Yeah.
Because I think, as you saw, a lot of people were kind of moving that direction in the last election cycle. So, the party expected us to lose by 13 on election day, and we lost by 6 or 6.5.
Yeah, that's
so
impressive.
we did better than a lot of other people thought. Now, our campaign knew that we were going to do better than 13. We knew we were working hard, and we had hit a lot of doors. Our yard signs were everywhere. Yeah. So we were optimistic But, we weren't sure what to expect. It was our first time. My campaign manager was his first time running a campaign.
Mm-hmm.
He's now working for Congressman Bresnahan.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. But we did exceed our expectations. It just, it was bittersweet. We wanted to win, of course. And what was your other question? You asked if I learned something?
How was it what did you learn from that experience?
I said it during the campaign a lot, but the one thing I realized over and over again was that we're not as divided as we think we are.
Yeah.
The media portrays it that way, and I think the loudest voices from each side are on the extremes, typically. So I really was expecting more negative interactions at the doors, like doors slammed in my face, people being rude, and I got some of that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that much,
Yeah.
and it was mostly from my own party. It wasn't like Democrats were just slamming the door in my face because I was a Republican. It was really refreshing. And I didn't lead with my political affiliation, nor did I ask anybody.
Yeah.
But I think people just want to be heard, and they want to connect, and they want to know that their officials are representing them and hearing them, and that's all I sought to do.
So one thing I noticed from what you were campaigning on was you've spoken about protecting the Poconos from overdevelopment. What specific policies or actions do you believe are necessary in maintaining our integrity?
Yeah, so this was probably the number one issue I heard about from people, and it depends where you are. Up in Coolbaugh Township, I think they had over 10 warehouses go in there, in the past years. And they're dealing with the issue probably more than anybody.
Yeah.
But Pocono Township is dealing with this as well, warehouses wanting to come through, and it's going to happen everywhere. And people look at the Poconos a certain way, and it represents something. It represents a certain quality of life, pristine water and natural environments, and they don't want to see warehouses everywhere. That's just the short of it. So when I was running for state rep, I proposed multiple things that you can do on a legislative level, and I wish I could have gotten my opponent to kind of talk about some of those things more.
Yeah.
If I would have been elected to Harrisburg, I would have approached it from a legislative point of view. But on a more local level, when you're dealing with this issue, we have to have good people running the townships that stand up for the people and environmental concerns, and don't just green light every development project and grant any waiver that is asked for.
Yeah.
So, it's a complicated issue. It depends what perspective you're coming at it from. But there's a lot that needs to be done, and people are really angry with the way things are going right now. So something needs to be done quickly about it.
So on a lighter note, thank you. If you could give the Poconos 3 adjectives, so I heard pristine.
Yes.
Yes. So 3 adjectives. What would you give it?
Yeah, pristine, beautiful. I mean, I love the view in my backyard and my friend's backyard. There's a woman I met in Pocono Township who looks at a forest in her backyard, and right now that is the site that is going to turn into a warehouse. She's going to go from trees in her backyard to the Core 5 proposal in Pocono Township. Pristine, beautiful, and also I think there's something sacred about it. That word comes to mind. There's a statistic, 2% of streams in Pennsylvania are exceptional value waterways. Okay, they get this EV standard. 80% of those streams are in the Poconos. So, out of those 2%, we have 80% of them here in the Poconos. We have a responsibility in the Poconos to protect this. I really view it as something very important or almost sacred.
Yeah.
So I think we really need to just represent the will of the people on this. There was a poll done by Susquehanna in 2022, and 94% of people said that they would support development if the environment wasn't harmed.
Yeah.
Okay, and 40% of those respondents were in Monroe County. The rest were in Wayne and Pike. But it gives you a snapshot. It's not a partisan issue. 94% of people support development if the environment is not harmed. So that's where I come at it from. I think we need growth and jobs, and I support growing the economy, but it can't be at the expense of what is sacred here in the Poconos, our exceptional value waterways.
Okay, that's a great answer. Speaking of bipartisan, is a clear theme in your campaign's objectives. How do you see yourself creating a genuine collaboration across party lines? For instance, I guess in that scenario.
Yeah, I think this in Pennsylvania is so important, right? We're the only state or commonwealth with a divided government. We have Republicans controlling the Senate. Mm-hmm. We have Democrats clinging on to the House by one. And we have a Democratic governor, right? So to get anything done in Pennsylvania, you're going to have to work with the other side. That's just how it is. Mm-hmm. And I think, on that issue specifically, there are people who have been vocal about wanting to get things done, Republicans and Democrats. Joe Emmerich, a Republican, proposed legislation to curb warehousing development. And there's people like Tara Probst, Representative Probst, who I'm sure is sympathetic to these concerns as well. So, it's about introducing yourself across party lines, building relationships, mm-hmm. and hearing people out and just working together. I don't care what party somebody is. I just, want to work with anybody on the things that matter to people. So I'll work with anyone to get things done.
So to get things done, what's your next plan in politics?
Well, I have thought a lot since the election. It was bittersweet, like I said, but a lot of people encouraged me to stay involved, and I intended to anyway. And I think the next step right now is running for Pocono Township Commissioner, where I live. There's 2 open spots, I believe, and I think it's important that people in Pocono Township have a voice on the board. Mm-hmm. I think that there needs to be a diversity of views right now on that board, and it's not that way. So people are really upset about a lot of things that are going on in Pocono Township, and they're concerned about the future. And I want to make sure that I do everything I can to make sure they're heard and to chart a path forward for the Poconos that's sustainable and prosperous. Mm-hmm. So I do intend to run for Pocono Township Commissioner. You're getting the scoop. And, we'll be working hard in the coming weeks. Petition period's coming up, so we'll be getting signatures. And I really just want to talk to as many of my neighbors as I can and represent them the best I can.
I love that. Well, good luck on that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Also, you emphasize honesty and transparency in government. What measures would you advocate for to increase accountability in local and state politics? I know we kind of brushed on it before the camera turned on.
No, it's a good question. I think the bottom line is that you need good people in office.
Yeah, of course.
You need people who want to do the right thing and do the right thing.
Represent us properly.
Yes. So that's the bottom line. And if you have good people in office, they're going to do things transparently, mm-hmm. and then we can hold them accountable. That's how it should work, right? So, if you have bad actors on either side at any level who are trying to skim money, fraud, waste, and abuse we keep hearing about, right, at the federal level, that exists at every level. So I think it's important for the residents to hold their elected officials accountable, go to township meetings if it's the local level. Or
no one goes to those. I work at BRC, as I mentioned, and we're always covering meetings, and no one is ever there besides our camera.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can say for Pocono Township, our meetings are way too long, and I think that's a big part of it. I've been to meetings all over my district, and Pocono Townships are the longest. So I'm going to make that a core. That's going to be a big part of my campaign. Yeah. If you want shorter township meetings, I'm your guy. We're gonna move those along if I get in.
So corruption in politics is a concern across the board, I think, for everyone. It's constantly a topic, especially today. What protections do you think should be put in place to prevent unethical behavior? I know you already just said just having good people in office, of course. Is there anything else you could touch base on? Or
Are you asking about the federal level, local level, or just kind of across the board?
I would say we just talked local, so maybe we could move on to federal.
Well, I like a lot of what's been proposed for the Treasury Department. From the Department of Government Efficiency, they found that there were no categorization codes for payments. So, billions of dollars go out for a vendor for whatever it is, and it doesn't get categorized. There's no comment explaining what the payment's for. It seemed to be built to reduce complaints. Basically, they were just green lighting every payment that was requested so that they didn't have to deal with these people saying, oh, we didn't get our money, right? Mm-hmm. People complain. So I think that simple measures like that, just to promote accountability, explain what it's for.
Yeah, explaining it.
Yes. Yeah.
At least like in news, when we're writing stories, we have to like simplify words. It's honestly something I'm struggling with right now. George, like the anchor is like, you're doing too much. So you have to simplify because you're trying to reach everybody. You're trying to reach who's watching. And I think that's the same thing, like simplify things so that people actually understand and it's hard taking accountability or like kind of pressing on your government if you don't even know what they're putting out to you.
Yeah. And a lot of the money being spent at the federal level is discretionary, right? A department gets a certain budget and they can kind of disperse it however they want. So that's why we found some things that people didn't know about, because we need more transparency. So there's a lot of things, specifically the Treasury Department, that's going to change everything because everything goes through there. But
of course, the money transparency is probably most crucial.
Yeah. And then, at each department, I think it's going to be a little different.
Campaign finance reform is often discussed, but rarely acted upon. What changes would you push to ensure fair elections?
The issue was the Citizens United case, where money was basically equated to be speech, and the judges ruled that you can spend an unlimited amount on an election, right? You can put it into a super PAC. You just can't coordinate, right, with the candidate, but that still, I'm sure, happens to some degree. I think that case needs to be overturned, first and foremost.
It was in the 70s, right, that case?
It was definitely the 20th century. You're testing me on when it was. But, it was pivotal, and it opened the floodgates for billionaires on both sides, special interests on both sides, to just pour this money in, and it just doesn't have a good effect on our political system. I can tell you firsthand, you don't want just unlimited funds coming in from all these people who want things, right?
Because then you're going to owe them in some way, shape, or form.
Or it takes somebody with integrity, at least, to just do their own thing, and there's not a lot of that in politics, unfortunately.
No.
So I think that's the solution. You can talk about little things you can do in the meantime to promote transparency with the system we have, but it's really just kind of playing around at the edges instead of dealing with the problem face on. And people are going to say, I think mostly Republican justices ruled on that case. And I'm aware of that, so I just want to put that out there. I think it was just a disastrous decision, and I hope that it gets revisited.
You like seeing the outcomes now, like how people ran with it, at least, like identifying that it's this disastrous now.
or our elected officials are going to have to pass a law in D.C. that somebody could then sue, and it would go back to the court, but something needs to be done.
I think that's great. So the economy is always a major concern for voters. What are your thoughts on raising the minimum wage in Pennsylvania? $7.25 is what it's at and has been at for so long.
I know.
States I don't know exactly which ones, but I do know the states in 2025 are raising their minimum wage, and happy on board with that, but we're still at $7.
I know. Again, people can say, why is he a Republican? But I support raising the minimum wage. I think I've supported a path to $15. There was a bill passed by the Democrats in the House that I supported early on in the campaign, and I've been consistent on it. I think we need to get to at least $15. If you look at the math, $15 an hour is still not enough.
Yeah.
So a discussion needs to be had there. You can't jeopardize economic growth and economic prosperity. You got to make sure that businesses are able to pay their employees, and that's the balance that I think Republicans lean into a little more.
Yeah.
But if somebody's working full time, I think that they should be able to afford basic necessities, and I don't think that should be very controversial. So the minimum wage should afford people, at the bottom to be able to just get by, and that's where I'm at. So, I'll work with anyone on that. I think there are Republicans willing to raise the minimum wage, but there's disagreement on what the numbers should be, and I hope that Democrats, during this budget negotiation that's going on right now for Pennsylvania, stand strong and fight for that. And I gave my opponent a lot of grief during the campaign because she was nowhere to be found when the budget negotiations were going on last time.
Yeah.
She supposedly supports a minimum wage hike, but then when it was time to make noise and put pressure on people, I don't know where she was. So, that's the political gamesmanship that goes on. People might have an opinion, but then they don't fight for it when it's time. So I think we just need someone with integrity to make some noise, put pressure on people, and get people to do the right thing. That was a long answer.
No, that was great. Honestly, you very thorough. So, of course, as a journalist, I stalked your pages. But you mentioned in an old post about immigration causing Pennsylvanians over $1 billion tax dollars of their money. What solution do you support most in possibly solving this issue while still upholding, ethical standards? Now, and then also, where would you want the money to go? You mentioned homelessness vaguely and veterans and all of that. So if you could.
Yeah. So you're testing my memory, but I do remember that post from about a year ago. I'd have to look at it again to refresh my memory, but basically, what I think I was saying is that I don't think it's fair for Pennsylvanians' tax dollars to go to illegal immigrants. I'm not against immigration. I'm not against legal immigrants getting support. But I support legal immigration. I don't think it's fair to people who do things the right way to come to our country for somebody to slip in the back door unvetted or quickly be released. So,
$1 billion's a lot.
Yes, yeah. I forget, where that number came from, but I remember looking into it.
It was accurate, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, we need to take care of our veterans. That should be first and foremost. I unveiled a plan during the campaign, I think a 7-point plan of what I intended to do for our veterans, and I still think...
Yeah, you had a lot, mental health, the homelessness, job security. There's a lot that you proposed about veterans, so I thought...
And like you said, homelessness. Homelessness and food insecurity have skyrocketed in recent years.
Yeah.
Media not talking about it whatsoever, which drives me nuts. But you're right, we have to take care of our citizens first. I think we have a responsibility to take care of everyone who needs housing or food security, and to give them a hand up. I don't believe in a handout forever. I believe in a hand up so that somebody can stand on their own 2 feet and be successful. That feels good, right? I mean, nobody wants to just be receiving a handout forever. But I do think that, sometimes people need assistance in a transitionary period or whatever. And I strongly support, the SNAP program. Senator Fetterman talks a lot about protecting SNAP, making sure we don't cut any money from that. And I agree with him. I just want the the food to be a little more nutritional. I think a lot of that goes to like soda. You'd be amazed how much.
I just quit soda this year.
Yeah.
I gone like a month and so without any soda.
God bless. There you go.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think, we have to take care of our people first, and homelessness and food insecurity. That's why I was a Democrat when I was a kid. Those were issues championed by the Kennedys. JFK and then RFK both talked about those a lot. And JFK is one of my favorite presidents ever. And environmental concerns, that was why I was a Democrat too. Yeah, so I think it's really important.
Yeah, there's over 45,000 children that were reported through 2022-2023 school year estimates that are homeless or experiencing lack of stability in their home life. So
it's crazy.
So it was interesting that you talked.
We were just talking about the charter schools and the real estate that they've amassed, and we can get into that. But maybe we should use some of that real estate for housing.
Yeah, yeah,
it's a good idea.
That would be great. Speaking of young people, they're often disengaged with politics, let alone local politics, especially. What do you think needs to change to get young voters out? Honestly, seeing you on the campaign trail and everything, given you're pretty young, so...
I'm 32.
Yeah. But, I mean, compared to a lot of people in politics that I've seen, I think that's great that you're engaged and you're doing everything you're doing. How do you think we could keep that momentum going?
It's a good question. I think a lot of... It's a good question. I think a lot of kids, young people, they want to be successful. They want to make money. I'm not sure if they see politics as the path for that. Yeah. I'm not sure if our younger generation has the attention span for it, right? I mean, everyone wants to be, you have a 5-second attention span these days for most of these people. So, pouring through legislation, sitting at committee hearings, I think a lot of people view that as boring. Yeah. They're not interested in the mundane parts of the job. I don't view it as mundane, but, I love it. But
of course.
That might be part of it. I'm just guessing. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. You see people, I think it's starting to happen a little more. I mean, look, the campaign manager for my opponent, Jacob Pride, is very young. He's a Smithfield Township supervisor, although we have our disagreements on policy. And you see there's a couple really young state representatives in Harrisburg, actually. They're both Republicans, I think, in their 20s. So that's good to see. And there were some young candidates, too, who lost last cycle. So I think it's going to happen. As these older politicians retire and leave office, you're going to have new blood come in. So there's going to be opportunities for young people, and I think we have to, seize the opportunities and get involved. Yeah.
So getting involved, you're a Steelers fan. However, this past Super Bowl, did you root for the Chiefs or did you root for the Eagles?
So I met Pat Mahomes' dad once in Florida. Yes, and we've kept in touch. I texted him before the game, and so
you have to be Chiefs.
Well, but at the same time, I was like, it's tough because it would be easy for me to root for the Eagles and say Pennsylvania and all that, but deep down, something in me just can't do it. No, I can't do it. My
fiance your arch nemesis, to the Steelers. So.
They're Eagles fans. This will get me in
They're
trouble.
Lot,
so you're
right?
getting me into trouble.
It's so funny to me, seeing Philly will burn, win or lose.
Yeah, there was rioting after they won. Yeah.
Yeah. The poles everywhere.
Yes.
I don't know if they climbed, but I know they tore apart.
Yeah, they're nuts. Look, I'm happy for Pennsylvania. At least Pennsylvania got another victory, Super Bowl. Yeah. It's true, but I don't know. I was rooting for a good game, and we didn't get that. So, it was I didn't really care who won. I'll be
Yeah.
honest. I was sad the Steelers were out of it.
Yeah, just not your team.
Yeah, I watched though.
If you instantly master any skill, I'm just getting into some lighter topics.
Yeah.
That was a lot of. If you could instantly master any skill, what would it be?
Writing?
Writing?
Yeah, I think I'm a good writer, but I don't think I've mastered it. I'm actually working on a novel.
Really?
Yes, since the election, I've been pouring myself into that. So I love writing, and yeah, if I could master anything, I think that would be it.
I love that answer. I love writing, so that's why I love that answer. But and if you've been involved in both coaching and politics, which is tougher? Convincing a voter to support you or coaching a team?
Definitely politics. Convincing a voter to vote for you. I think, I don't try to like forcefully convince anybody. I think I just, say what I believe, and most of the time people agree.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
I feel like most people are like-minded.
Yeah, I think we agree on a lot more than we think.
Yeah.
Like we all want to get rid of corruption, right? But so
Yeah.
why are we fighting with each other? Let's focus on, rooting it out. But, I just, coaching, I wish I did more of it. As a golf instructor, I give a lot of lessons, and it can be tough. You get somebody who just isn't quite getting it.
Yeah.
Then it could be a tough hour. But I love it all. So I don't view any of it really as tough. I really love golf and politics. So, so I love it. It's fun for me. People think I'm crazy, but.
Is there anything else you would like to touch on?
No.
Or do you feel like that was okay?
Yeah, I think I like what you're doing here, and I hope that you have great success.
Thank
This
you.
is a very cool setup you have.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you'll get some good guests here in the coming months. So I look forward to watching your future episodes.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much.
Thank you for having me.
I loved having you on today. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Bye, guys. That was Z-Files Podcast with your host, Catherine Pabon. And thank you again so much for Matt Long joining us.
Thank you again. It was fun.